Now that's right, 5 years. That's how long a staff of Ghana's Washington, D.C. embassy allegedly diverted visa applications to his private company and charged a little extra for visa services. Now, Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Ablakwa made the shocking revelations on his social media handles when he made the announcement of a temporary closure of the mission in Washington, D.C. Let's hear the minister in his own voice when he pushed it earlier on his social media. Really straight to the point when he talks about the president, giving him the go-ahead to do to take the action, rather very difficult action to close the mission in Washington, D.C. Now, first he says that unauthorized diversion of visa and passport applicants to Ghana travel consultants, charging from $29.75 to $60 US per applicant. So they were charging a little more than what was supposed to go to the mission or the consular section of the mission. Now, investigations also revealed that one Fred Kwarting from the IT department and his collaborators operated this illegal scheme for at least 5 years. Now, they also the conduct has since been reported to the Attorney General for possible prosecution and retrieval of funds obtained through fraudulent schemes. All Ministry of Foreign Affairs staff posted to the Washington Embassy recalled home with immediate effect. That's one of many actions that have been taken as a result of this. We also know that there's been a dissolution of the embassy's IT department. All locally recruited staff have now been essentially suspended. We also know that the Auditor General has now been invited to conduct a forensic examination of all transactions and to determine the total cost of this elaborate fraudulent scheme. Ghana's embassy in Washington, for that matter, will be closed. And take note, it doesn't say indefinitely. It says for a few days from today, as we finalize the ongoing restructuring and systems overhaul. But what does it all mean, right? It's important to put it into perspective. So we've been calling somebody who knows a lot about this. Former Deputy Foreign Affairs Minister Emmanuel Bombande joins us now for a bit more on this. Thank you so much, Mr. Bombande. But listen, you've heard a story based on, the narration of the minister and how this scheme ran for 5 whole years. What analysis have you made of these rather worrying revelations?
Thank you so much, and good evening to all your viewers. As you rightly described it, it is completely alarming. It's a crime of the nature of a brazen and unrestrained conduct by the type of officials we have in our diplomatic missions. Now, keep in mind that our diplomatic missions, such as the embassy in Washington, is Ghana's face, Ghana's presence in our bilateral relationships with the United States that involves quite a number of different layers of engagement. And so it's not just about the crime, but it's about the trust that is broken by officials who should carry out their duties in representing Ghana with the utmost integrity in helping and support the foreign minister to be able to engage in the type of relationship between Ghana and the United States that will be of benefit to the citizens of Ghana, but also the citizens of the United States. So my observation is one that is of shock, and I think that if you look at the nature of the crime, it also has the complicity, or you might describe it as other people being an accomplice, being accomplices.
I see.
Now, those details, we probably do not have it.
Indeed, we do not have those details at this time, but let me tap into your knowledge of the workings of our missions by virtue of your previous portfolio. How far up the hierarchy must this go for such a scheme to exist for 5 whole years?
So, first of all, let us keep in mind that the diplomatic mission is led by the topmost principal, in this case, our ambassador to the United States. So if you are looking at the hierarchy of responsibility which comes along with the accountability, it has to be the ambassador who represented Ghana during the time that this crime was committed. But beyond that, that is why in the nature of our governance structure, there has to be political oversight. So our current foreign minister is conducting a political oversight on our diplomatic mission. And so beyond the ambassador, what was the political oversight over this period of the conduct of such heinous crime by the former foreign minister with all the apparatus that are available to her to be able to make that conduct. I've worked in the foreign ministry. We have our own internal audit mechanisms and capacities that report directly to the foreign minister, and this could not have been going on for so long without us picking the signals and providing the political supervision and oversight to deal with it, and to deal with it in a manner that is not just about the level of the crime, but how it impacts on our diplomatic operations in a foreign country.
Very well.
Because keep in mind that it sends an incredible wrong signal to the international community about how our diplomatic missions are operating.
Absolutely. Just a few things I want us to piggyback off. I also want to tell our viewers that I'll take you live to the US and then find out what, you know, the speakings have been from staff, from Ghanaians resident abroad, people who may have need for the services of the DC office, and coming to the realization that perhaps the application didn't go directly to the DC office, but went through a third party despite going to the DC office website. Now, Mr. Bombande, before I get to that, you mentioned earlier the issue of motive, right? So in this case, what will the motive be?
It's a message of dealing sleaze and corruption that could be viewed as pervasive in our missions. And that is why the very first step is the robustness with which the foreign minister is responding with this, with obviously the approval of our president of the republic, because that is then when you begin to correct the dent. But let me say here that in diplomacy, in international relations, and in our bilateral and even multilateral engagements, there is an interconnection. There is always a link between what happens in one setting, in one mission, with others. And so in the diplomatic corridors, the conversations that will be going on would be about this incident. And I think that people will be watching very closely to see how Ghana will respond, and respond speedily. And that is why the responses that we are seeing today, led by the minister, is absolutely the right step to take. And hopefully, the more we can know about what has happened, the more the accountability measures can be put in place.
Mr. Bombande, how about you hold your fire for me? I want to bring in now Dela Michelle. She's a former broadcast journalist here at Media Generals and a resident in the DC area. She's not there at the moment, but she's joining us from the US. Dela, good evening, and thank you so much for joining us, perhaps this afternoon where you are. But you have been, talking to people, finding out more information about the situation there. Talk to us about who you've spoken to and what you found.
So, Kerni, thank you so much for having me. Earlier, I did speak to one of my sources who wants to remain, anonymous at the Ghana embassy here in the DC area. He was telling me that this particular directive came actually on a holiday. So today is a holiday in the US, it's Memorial Day. So, all the offices are not open today. So we do understand that there's going to be a crunch meeting with the acting head of mission tomorrow, Tuesday, at the office here in DC, where they're going to really understand what is going on. Even though the Foreign Affairs Minister has spoken, he has, written on his Facebook page and others, and it's been reported in Ghana. They are yet to have a meeting with the acting head of mission here in DC to find out really what is going on, even though there is the speculation that is an IT department and one Mr. Fred Kwatin has been let go. And they're also looking at how it's going to affect other departments at the embassy. Mind you, there's a trade department, there's a defense department, there's a foreign affairs department here. And as we are talking to Dr. Bombardier, he did mention that this is going to affect not just people who are trying to get visas back home, but also businesses. So one of my sources told me that with this particular information coming in, he has been receiving multiple calls, first of all, from the ministry that he represents as the Ministry of Trade, asking how far, how far spread is this particular information? How is this going to affect some of the business investors that we're expecting into the country pretty shortly? How can we, give some level of confidence to these investors who are coming into the country? What can we say is going on with regard to security? What can we say to some of these people who are coming into this country that we've already given them, assurance that the government has already taken certain measures? When you go, you will be, taken care of, because all these international investment and international relations that you've been talking about, they all need to come through the DC embassy here. And of course, the acting head of mission is supposed to give them, let's say, the thumbs up in order they need to move into the country to fully do what they have to do. So everybody is moving in a very strategic way, because they don't want to assume too much. They don't want to assume too little, because again, today is a holiday. So most of the embassy is closed as of today, but they're expecting that on Tuesday, they're going to have a crunch meeting. All departments are going to have a crunch meeting with the acting head of mission, who is going to clarify, this. And as you've mentioned, that yes, the directive came in saying, using the word effective immediately, but then again, today is a holiday. So what is going to happen with these staff that has been laid or that have been suspended? How are they going to, is it going to take place from tomorrow after the meeting tomorrow? What are they going to say with regard to that? But I've also been talking to people who, as you rightly mentioned in your introduction, did apply for a Ghana visa, and they were taken to a third party website. But for the people that I spoke to, they said they found it normal, because for instance, if you're an American and you're trying to apply for a US visa, you don't know what goes into, application of visas for these international countries. So they assumed that it was part of the process. They didn't see it as, oh, maybe this is an action that requires me to look further or probe further into it. They just assumed that it was part of the process that they had to go to. So one of the people that I spoke to said, yes, 2023, when she was applying for her visa, she did go to another site where she was made to make payment before referring back to the embassy's website. Mind you, here, if you apply for your visa, you have to send your passport to the embassy, So those were the things that they were not concerned about, because for those who have already applied, they need to get their passport sent to the embassy for them to know, whether they're going to get their visas or not.
Absolutely, Dela. Thank you so much for talking to us. You go enjoy that holiday. We appreciate the report. And Dela Michelle there, she's a former broadcast journalist here at TV3. She's now resident in the Washington, D.C. area. And let me just specify that the Washington, D.C. mission does not serve only residents in the Washington area, just for emphasis. Now, I want to come back to Mr. Bombardier, because Mr. Bombardier, just quickly, I want us to end this conversation. Unfortunately, I do not have any more time to spend on it. But you talked about the issues of funds being audited. I just want to put it into perspective for us, right? How often or frequently did these internal audits happen?
So our auditing mechanism supervises and leads in the different missions to audit and to be absolutely assured that the right things are done. When funding is raised in our diplomatic missions, which is outside our public purse in Ghana, and when I was a deputy minister for foreign affairs, we had a retention policy in which our diplomatic missions could maintain a certain percentage of the internally
Indeed, Mr.
generated
Bombande,
funds